Now, did I tell you?
Did I ever tell you the story of how Grandpa and I and your daddy and Richard and Mark and Tessa the dog, we used to take a boat on the river. So we drove the car down to Kingston and we rented this launch, a motor launch, and we got on the launch, and as we walked along the boathouse to get onto the boat, Tessa the dog came along and followed us, and it was a very narrow ledge to the man's office where Grandpa had to pay him the money before we could go off with the boat, and she fell in the water. The dog fell in the water, so we pulled her out. Anyway, we got on the boat and I had a beautiful picnic lunch prepared, and Mark was in the pushchair and the dog was on the lead, and Grandpa was steering the boat, and I was put in charge of the tiller at the other end. So I was holding the tiller with one hand, the pushchair with the other hand, and the dog's lead, Tessa's lead, tied onto the pushchair. So it was very difficult for me to manage. So anyway, we went along on the River Thames, and we went quite a way, I think as far as Bray, and then we went into a lock, and Grandpa had to manage the boat while the water came up, while the water went down. So I hadn't noticed, but Tessa had got off the lead and she jumped ashore in the lock there, the lock on the ground. So I was busy holding the tiller and the pushchair, and suddenly, you know what happened?
What?
The water went down, so the boat went down, and then I looked up, and there was Tessa up on the top of the ground. So I had to say, Tessa, jump, and it was about 20 feet. And she jumped down onto the boat, so I wonder she didn't kill herself. Anyway, that was one part of the trip. Then we sailed further along after we went out of the lock, and the boys wanted to go swimming. So, all right, they wanted to go swimming, so they jumped off the boat into the water, and they had nice swims, and we had a job to get them up. But of course, Tessa had also decided she wanted to go in the water, but we couldn't get Tessa up, and we had the most terrible trouble. Grandpa had to go down into the water himself and get her. And we had to get the boat to the shore, and it was a terrible trouble. Anyway, that was